and vice presidents, do they fall within the purview of a public officer?
Do they?
That I will answer that question. And then also another question that came into mind was that, do they also work to advance the development of this country? That is also another question.
Right.
And now if I am to answer those questions from my last question, it means that if you look through the spouses, the wives of former presidents and the current president, I am tempted to believe that almost all of them do things that inure to the benefit of Ghanaians. And I'll give an example as the incumbent First Lady. I mean, when you go to Kwamfanoche Teaching Hospital, what she really did and she's doing for the hospital is something worth emulating, and it's something that I believe everybody would like to appreciate and applaud her. So that is also, and when you look at former First Lady Lordina Mahama, I mean, ACE ambassador, I mean, championing the cause of ACE and so on and so forth. When you look at former First Lady Nadu Mills, they've all been doing what they have to do to support the advancement of the country, and also more specifically to support their husbands. So that is very much appreciated. Just as if you go to some advanced countries, like I give Germany as an example, you would realize that if you are a sitting president or a former president, you are given some allowances and some privileges, some emoluments in addition to your salary. That will take care of your spouse, you understand. So some advanced countries have also instituted some of these things just to take care of their spouses, because they know the work that the spouses do. But in this country, we are governed by our own 1992 constitution. And the decision to bring the first ladies, former and current, under the public service as we are talking about, is not a decision by the current government. I mean, it is a committee that recommended, and the parliament subsequently approved the recommendation of the committee, that we should find, as a country, we should find a way to cater for the spouses of former presidents, vice presidents, and current presidents. And the committee's recommendation was to find, ways of catering for the spouses, and not to place them under Article 71. Justice, we have blown the thing out of proportion. As I speak with you now, I don't have a full-fledged copy of the committee's report, just snippets of it. So the argument that we are making is based on nothing, because if you ask anybody to submit to you a copy of the committee's report, nobody's having it. Well, but the point is that, let me land on this. The point is that this government is not, as people are making, as the other opposition communicators are making it out there, it's not doing things out of what the committee recommended. Emolument committee has been in this country for a long time. And during Mills' time, during Mohammed's time, there was a emolument committee. Kufuor's time, there's a emolument committee. They recommend based on what they see and the reality on the ground. And they recommended that as a country, you see the work that the spouses, the wives of president and former president and, vice president, the work that they do for the country. We should find means of catering for them within the privileges of the president, within the privileges of the president. So we are not, they did not state that we should place them under Article 71 office holders, and that is where we should divert our focus at. So for me, there's no debate here, and I like it the way that some Ghanaians who have decided to be citizens and not spectators have gone to the Supreme Court to seek for certain declarations. Right. So I think
Felix, I want to ask you these questions. Let me first and foremost give a background of how this whole issue came about. Okay. It started under former President Jerry John Rawlings.
Yes.
When he thought that most of the spouses of heads of states, have been, they've had their husbands, they've lost their husbands and all of that.
The hardship.
And that he thought that those persons could be supported. And so as a gesture from the state, something is given to them in order to support them on and all of that. And so that was what he started at the time until, you know, President Kufuor's era, where I think all spouses were then included, despite you being a widow or your husband is still alive, and they've been receiving some allowances and all of that. Nobody complained about that particular allowances they were receiving. But don't you think that it will also be unlawful for recommendations and suggestions to be made that we formalize it and take it as what we are giving them is part of the privileges enjoyed by the president and the vice president, and that it should be captured under Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution, when Article 71 stipulated or indicated clearly persons who fall under that?
Yes, Justice, you have rightly said it, that this has been sort of convention that has come out from the fact that a monument committee have suggested, and some conventions and norms sometimes will turn into law if you want to formalize it. Now, looking at what is happening, the Professor Yamwa's, is it Yamwa? Professor Ntiamwa committee, Young Ntiamwa committee recommended, and Justice, we need to also take notice of that. It was a recommendation that was sent to Parliament, and Parliament approved upon the recommendation. And it is part of the recommendation that let's find ways to cater for the spouses of...
But do Parliament have that right to approve such recommendations when it ought to pass through certain channels they didn't consider?
I'm not sure the approval of Parliament was to place the spouses of former presidents and current presidents under Article 71. That is why I'm saying that. We are jumping.
What did they approve then?
They have approved what the committee submitted, that find ways to cater for these wives of former president and current president and vice presidents within the privileges of the president and former president. But then they have not stated within the committee's report that they should be placed under Article 71. That is why, in my own understanding, I think that we are jumping a gun, because nobody has placed anybody under Article 71. Clearly, Professor Ntiamwa is one person who I cherish most. She knows what she's about, and she knows the report that she submitted, and she's very much aware of Article 71, and she knows those who can privilege or benefit from Article 71. She cannot, a committee's report cannot overturn the provision of a constitution, which is Article 71. So there is nowhere within the committee's report that we should place the wives of former presidents and vice presidents and current president under Article 71.
Then let me read this portion of what Kojo Nkrumah said. He said, Mr. Nkrumah explained that an arrangement that was introduced by former President John Ejikun Kufuor during the start of his presidency in 2000 had seen spouses of presidents and vice presidents since then enjoyed allowances, though there was no formal documentation to support that. I think even at that point he got it wrong, because that was even started under former President Jerry John Rawlings. Now he continued by saying that the allowances given the two ladies of the executive were considered as part of the privileges of the president and the vice president. Yes. And I think he went on and on, but at the point he wants to talk about the fact that that was supposed to be captured under Article 71 because the allowances given to them are considered as part of, you know, privileges enjoyed by the president and the vice president.
It does not mean we are having a creation of different persons within under as Article 71. It means that persons who are already under Article 71, I'm talking about the president and vice president, they have certain privileges and facilities that are assigned to their positions. The wives are supposed to also benefit from within the benefits and privileges of the husbands. So clearly, I'm saying that we need Supreme Court a declaration on some of these things. But I shudder to think that what course of action are we going to present at the court? In this case, the Supreme Court will look at the committee's report and juxtapose that with whatever writ that the person has submitted. Has the committee's report submitted to anyone that we should place the wives of the former president under Article 71? Which is no. So that is why I'm saying that there's no course of action. If we are saying that the presidents have certain privileges that the wives are to enjoy, which has been a convention, and this government, through the committee's recommendation, is saying that even though this has been a convention, we think that it's about time that we formalize the convention. I think it's in order, so that we know that these sums of money is going to this place, so that we can account for it properly. And this is what the government sought to do.
In the first place, why should first and second ladies be given allowances and salaries?
Well, I think that for me, let's look at this within a moral.
They are not office holders.
Let's
in this country.
Let's look at this within a moral. I mean, as for the legal aspect, the Supreme Court will do a declaration and order on that. But then within a moral justice, in the first place, we know that through Professor Mills, before Mr. Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo, the wives of these people, I mean these presidents, have done great things to support this country. We know what they have been doing. We know the NGOs that they formed to advance the economy of Ghana. We know whatever they've been doing to support women of this country and youth of this country. So what is it's not out of place at all to say that we are giving them some allowances to support whatever initiative that they are doing. I don't think it's something that we should begrudge our heads on. What I think that we should always look at is the Article 71, and it is not for anybody to state that the current government is trying to put their wives and under Article 71. That is not so, because Professor Ntiamua's report did not state that we should put the wives or the spouses of former president and current president under Article 71, because clearly the Constitution stipulates that. So for me, the court will declare. But I think that the work that the wives and of president and former president and what have you have been doing for this country, they deserve to be awarded justice. Let's look at it. They deserve to be at least patted at their back, so that they know that whatever they are doing, Ghanaians also appreciate it. At the end of the day, how many are they? How many are they that we are just, they are just, you are entitled to one wife. Of course, if you, the maximum that you can go is about 4. And if Ghana is taking care of you because of the fact that you have also been doing your good things to the country,
don't you think that husbands of these, wives, we are asking to be paid because they are married to one president or the other, are taking enough, are receiving enough from the state that they should be able to take care of them?
That I am not aware where and how they get the enough, unless you provide evidence to that. That we are not aware.
The state takes wait a minute.
Yes.
You and I know that the state takes care of the president. Correct. And the vice president.
Correct.
Almost everything is provided for by the state. So why can't it take care of their wives than to have been asking the state to pay their wives because their wives are married to them? Did we vote for their wives?
Justice, the institution that I work in takes care of me in terms of my salaries and other privileges. I mean, you cannot say that the fact that the institution takes care of me through the state, my wife should not also enjoy a certain aspect anywhere.
Why should your wife? You should justify the reasons why the state should take care of your wife too.
That is why I have justified that the work that the wives of former presidents and current presidents and the vice president, the work that they do for the development of this country is worth emulating. It's worth patting them at their backs. And I give an example that the current first lady, you see the work that she's doing, fantastic. Purchasing of hospital beds for some hospitals, helping in the construction of hospital facilities and so on and so forth. Justice. we need to pat them at their backs. And that is why in the wisdom of former president, they saw that now by convention, let us support them. Let us support them. And by convention, they have been supported throughout President Rawlings up to date. But it is this time that we want to formalize it so that we know that this amount of money is going to the wives of presidents. So formalization is not just to put them under Article 71. That is where I want
Don't you think that the path we are churning as a country, tomorrow, wives of members of parliament or members of parliament will say that, well, our wives should also be paid because they also help their husbands in one way or the other in the various constituencies?
Well, when we get there, we'll talk about that. Until then, I'm not sure we can speak about that. But then,
don't you think that somebody will also come and say that?
Let me also say that. Then we can also say concubines should also be taken care of,
and all of that should also be taken care of. Are we turning the right path?
Concubines are
as a country.
Concubines are not recognized, and you know, customary law, concubines are not recognized, so we cannot talk about them. But let me also deal with the substance.
But under the laws of this country, it is not recognized anywhere. The office of first and second lady.
Nobody has recognized the office of first and second.
So what are we paying them for? What
we are saying is that
you must render a service to the state for you to be paid. What services are they rendering to the state?
And I have given you an example that we have the current president, the first lady, who is helping.
But don't you think that by virtue of the fact that you are the wife of a president and a vice president doesn't mean that you should be paid by the state?
Why shouldn't you?
Why should you be paid?
That is why I'm saying
what I want to understand.
That is why I'm saying that, Justice. No, we need to be so clear and real with this situation. We are in this country where, Justice, if you are my brother now and you become a president,
right?
If anybody sees me that I'm working, they will think that you are doing something for me. You are in this country. Ibrahim Muhammad also suffered that, and I mean the brother of the current president are also suffering that. We are in this country where if you see the wife of President Akufo-Addo being employed somewhere, people will talk. So clearly, if your husband or when your husband becomes the president of this republic, it is difficult for you to even get a job to do. Even if you are a brother to the president, it is difficult because our mindset is set to the extent that if your brother becomes the president, you are not supposed to work. But here lies the case that all first ladies and second ladies of this country, what they have been doing for their husbands is that they will form for themselves and for the state NGOs through which they can support the development of this country. And I think it's something that we need to look at, and not to look at the financial aspect. Let us also look at the developmental agenda that first ladies and second ladies have been doing for this country. We are not looking at that. We are only looking at the expenses that we are going to incur upon them. But I'm saying to you that if the current first lady has been able to, through her initiative an NGO, construct hospital facilities, that will save the lives of these same Ghanaians that we are talking about. That will save the lives of these same Ghanaians that we are saying that they are taxpayers, and that their taxes will be used for payment of these first ladies who are helping them. I think that it is about time that we look at this holistically without any political lens and say that, well, because we have been doing it as per convention, then let's formalize it to state that just as we have been doing at some developed countries, that first ladies are also helped in certain capacities so that they can also support the husbands and the development of this country. This country should also take the same way. Where my problem lies is that where are we to place them?
I'll come to Jerome shortly, but I'm asking you a question. That wives of members of parliament, in one way or the other, also help their constituents. Does it mean that we should also start paying them?
Justice, if you tell me that if I am an employer here and my boss, who is the CEO within this establishment or MD, the wife is always around doing things, and we say that we are going to give allowance to the wife of my boss, and I'm saying that, boss, then our wives have also been helping us at home, so you should give them allowance.
Wait a minute.
It will not that one.
Wait a minute. I'm saying that.
What I'm saying to you.
What Ghanaians are saying.
What I'm saying to you. Look, Felix, the wives of MPs. I'm saying that.
How is the wife of President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia different from the wife of any member of parliament?
The wife of an MP, say an MP of Justice constituency, is an employee of a certain institution. You cannot pay the person twice. But the wife of a president.
What if the said wife is not an employee of any institution?
Just a check. Almost all the wives of
what if the wife of
that is why I'm saying that
an employee of any institution?
I can give you an example, and I can also give you an example.
I'm trying to say
I'm saying that the wives of MPs are employees of certain institutions. You cannot say the state should also pay them. That is the amount of double salary.
I'm trying very hard to understand your argument. Your explanation as to why the first and second ladies should be paid by the state. Why we taxpayers should be burdened by the first and second ladies. I'm asking a simple question. That, look, under the Constitution, and we are talking law, under the Constitution, there's nowhere the first and second ladies' office is recognized. For that reason, taxpayers would have to waste our monies on them. I'm asking that, look, we are churning a path where tomorrow somebody would also come and say that, well, I think that my wife should also be paid because, well, they also render certain services to the state simply because we are MPs, we are ministers, and our wives are also there helping us. They have also created NGOs that are helping the country. I'm asking, does it mean that those persons should also be paid by taxpayers' money?
Just as I'm saying that you are creating your own confusion and inviting me into your
confusion. I'm not creating a confusion.
Because the point is that
what's the these
are speculations.
No, so the fact that by virtue of the fact that they are wives of the president and then the vice president, and they have formed a certain NGO to help in the why. So then therefore by somebody who is also
by virtue of the fact that the emolument committee of late Professor Mills,
right,
recommended
that
spouses of former president and vice president and current president and current president should be catered for. Let me finish this point because you have asked a question.
Right.
And by virtue that the emolument committee of Mr. Mahama, former President Mahama, also recommended in this same vein. And by virtue that the emolument committee of President Akufo-Addo has recommended in this way, what we are saying is that per the recommendation they have given to us, that we should find means of catering for the wives or the spouses of president and former president and vice president.
Okay.
So what is the point that we are making? Well, the point is that
you have done enough time.
Nobody's placing them on the Article 71, and that is what I want you to understand.
I don't think that taxpayers can be burdened with payment of the wives of presidents and vice presidents when, of course, their husbands the entire family is already taken care of by the state.
Parliament
let me come to you, Jerome.
Did not do a due diligence.
But what they didn't do anywhere. They just start over. And I'm sure
Parliament approved it.
I'm telling you that according to some members of Parliament, especially those from the minority side in the 7th Parliament, said they never gave their consent and approval to that.
This has always been the case. They gave their consent, and it was unanimous.
Justice, a very good evening to yourself, my brother Alfred, right?
Felix.
Felix, and also the millions who are watching us across the globe. Let me single out my home region, that is the Western North region. I am very particular about that anyway. I am proud to come from the Western North because Justice, we are the only region that is gifted with cocoa, timber, bauxite, gold, what have you. So I am using this medium to appeal to all investors who really want to invest in any region to make my region, their first point of call. Justice, what are we talking about? We are talking about the fact that a certain committee has been sanctioned by the president. And you ask yourself that in sanctioning this committee, what was the terms of reference? My my good friend Felix will not begrudge me on the fact that the terms of reference of the committee was in specific to Article 71 office holders. So if really the terms of reference has been stipulated or posited quite clearly, I don't think that you have the locus to even go beyond what the Constitution has enjoined you to do. And that has been the practice all over these years, and so on and so forth. So if you have a committee which has gone beyond its mandate, all right, of determining emolument for Article 71 office holders, then I think ab initio the recommendations are null and void, because it is not in consonance with what has been posited in the Constitution with respect to Article 71. So with this argument that Felix is making, I really cannot come to terms with it. But look, he made certain arguments trying to justify what has been done and so on and so forth. That, I mean, the wives of the president and the vice have also been engaged in certain NGO activities and so on and so forth. Look, the fact that you are engaged in NGO activities does not qualify you under the law. And we all know, it is trite knowledge, that if really we want to amend the law or any of that sort, we know what you do. I mean, you, through the Attorney General, I mean, you present a bill and so on and so forth. Perhaps if it is passed by Parliament, President give assent to it, and it is amended. But all these processes have not been done. So if all these processes have not been done, and we still have this constitutional provision in there, then I strongly believe that the committee has no reason, absolutely no reason, to go on that tangent, to even make that recommendations beyond that. Look, he said that, and the minister also said, Minister of Information also said, oh, it has been by convention that we pay allowances to former president spouses and so on and so forth. So what we intend doing this time around is to formalize it and so on and so forth. I mean, what is the reason and logic in this? Because look, the fact that they have been receiving allowance is because their husbands have had the opportunity to serve this country as the head of state and government. Okay, and the Constitution clearly stipulates that because of their virtue of being in that position, they are to enjoy that right, and they have been enjoying all these years. But if you say that we are going ahead to give you salaries, we all know that salaries should go with responsibilities.
But if this is not new, and it is something that the spouses have been enjoying all this while, then formalizing it, why is it being a problem to some group of persons in this country?
No,
what's wrong if that is formalized?
Justice.
What's wrong if that is documented?
Justice. You see, you cannot take conventions to be law. You understand? You cannot assume conventions are law or statute. No, that shouldn't be the case.
So under what circumstances were they being given those allowances? Given those allowances for what?
No, because they are husbands. And you see, allowances comes in several forms. But, do you understand?
But who is bearing the cost of those? I would have to ask, who is bearing the cost of those allowances? You are spending taxpayers' monies in giving, you know, in helping spouses of, you know, heads of states, presidents of this country, and you are saying that that shouldn't be formalized. How do you account to the good people of Ghana then?
See, it is not about accounting for what
every single money that is spent, every single taxpayer's money that is spent must be accounted for. And a committee has recommended that, look, this is already ongoing, and so it will only be proper that we formalize and document it and all of that. What is so wrong with that? How is this being difficult for people to understand?
Have you read the committee report and you can pontificate to, I mean, the part that read what you are reading? Right. Or you are just paraphrasing or quoting what the minister.
Right.
What the minister said.
I'm trying to paraphrase what the minister said.
But
I would also read a portion of the report to you. So go ahead. I'll get it for you.
So Justice, what we are talking about here is that whether the fact that they've been receiving allowances or not does not mean that we really should institute or should give them salaries, whereas they do not have a defined responsibility or role under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Because we all know the functions of the president, we know the functions of the vice president, we know the functions of the ministers and deputies and so on and so on. It is unambiguously stated in the Constitution. That is why they are being given salaries. And because you being the spouse of the president, you also have some kind of what? Privileges that you enjoy. But that does not warrant you saying that you should be paid. I don't know if you really have thought of this. Look, if you should carefully think about it, we are trying to mean that, pardon my words, our president or former president are not being responsible to the welfare of their spouses. Is that what we are opinion? No, wait. Is that what we are opinion? Because if you are saying that President Akufo-Addo, upon all the monies he is being paid, upon all the allowances that he is being given, that 21,000 or whichever amount which has been designated to be the salary of the wife should be the one that the wife should live with, then it means that we are trying to mean that President Akufo-Addo has not been up to the task with respect to catering for the needs and also the responsibilities to the wife. And that is quite problematic. Look, even before the spouses, their husbands assumed office as president, they really worked hard to complement whatever that their husbands were doing. And I don't think any of them have come out to openly declare or say that we really need to be paid. So what really necessitated the inclusion of the spouses should be our problem. That what really necessitated that? Now, because the Constitution, let's not close the committee.
I'll let you
with any such power.
But I think I will need to clear this. Here, I'll quote what Kojo Ponkrumah said. He says, Mr. Ponkrumah further said, the emoluments committee set up in 2019 and chaired by Professor Yain Tiamwa Bedu as part of its recommendations proposed that the allowances given to the spouses of the president and vice president be formally included in the review of the entitlement for the executive. Quote, that recommendation was then forwarded to the 7th Parliament, which then gave their approval, and it is now to be implemented. It is therefore not true, as being circulated, that the president has approved of emoluments for the First Lady and the Second Lady, he stressed. Now, the emolument committee, it says the 5-member committee was set up in June 2019 by President Akufo-Addo to make recommendations to him and to Parliament on the salaries and allowances payable and the facilities and privileges available to Article 71 office holders under the chairmanship of Professor Ntiamwa Bedu, and which also had former Majority Leader and former Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Abraham Osei Edu. The Chief Executive Officer of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Edward Kwapon, the current Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eriko Dro Osai, and a former Managing Director, Danwell Life Insurance Company Limited, Mrs. Stella Sagbewu. The committee had 2 terms of reference. They were charged to make recommendations in respect of emoluments and other privileges for Article 71 office holders as specified under the Constitution, and also to examine any other relevant matter which the committee deemed appropriate to its work. Now, the portion I want you to understand is where the minister talked about the fact that the committee, proposed that the allowances given to the spouses of the president and the vice president be formally included in the review of the entitlement for the executive. So that was, a proposal made by the committee, and Parliament has approved that. What is the problem?
Justice, we come to the parliamentary aspect of it, but you see, if you can really recall, I did say that the committee has terms of reference. Do you understand? And the first term of reference is emanating from Article 71, which has clearly been stated in the Constitution. So it means that if the committee goes beyond suggesting that certain people who do not form within the bracket that we are talking about should be given some form of salary, then there is a problem. So why would the president desperately want the wife to be paid? Why has Mr. Mahama indicated that Mrs. Lodina do need any salary. And I must even tell you that it has come to our knowledge that some months or so on and so forth, even former presidents have not been paid. So what is this? No, please wait. Please wait. As of last 2 years, this became an issue where Madam Josibawa came out to indicate that even the salary of the former president has not been paid, which indeed was true. Offices which were to be rented or built for the former president, we know issues surrounding it and so on and so forth. So is it that you want a way to pay your wife? That is why you are trying to bring on board people who really have not indicated that they need any form of salary. And you see, if you can read from the news on Kasapa FM, Mrs. or Dr. Ernestina Nado Mills, I mean the spouse of the late President Mills, has indicated that she does not need any salary. She doesn't need any salary because at least she's well to do. She goes about her normal duties and so on and so forth. Look, you are talking about giving this huge sums of money to the spouses of president and vice president at this particular moment, where the president has indicated to the whole of Ghanaians that indeed we should tighten our belt, at a point that the president can only increase the salary of public service workers only by 4%, a portrait of 4%.
Take it or leave it. These first and second ladies are in one way or the other also embarking on projects for the developmental agenda of this country.
Do you know the project
and
that...
the question is, what is wrong if the state takes care of them salary-wise?
Justice, would the state take care of Jaspon? Would the state take care of all these philanthropists who really are doing so much for our country or for our society? I mean, this really does not resonate with anybody. For me, it doesn't resonate with me. If it does to my friend, that is fine. But I think that logically, this does not make any reason. Look, I am coming from a region where chunk of the population are into cocoa farming. And just as today, as we speak, cocoa farmers are not getting money for even their input or even for the production that they have made. They are really living penniless lives. Their lives have been impoverished by the fact that government is not finding money to give to the LBCs, that is the license buying companies in the cocoa sector, for them to release to these farmers. And you know how difficult life has been for our people. And here is the case, you are finding money to pay the spouses of former presidents, former vice presidents, and so on and so forth. This is really ridiculous. I mean, it is unheard of. And anybody who advised the president to embark on such journey, really, I don't know the kind of advice the president gives to the president. Because if indeed the person has any shame and has the people of Ghana at heart, that person wouldn't go ahead advising the president that this is the way you should go. Well, look, as we speak, why are the youth crying? We are crying because the one district, one factory promise that you made has not been materialized. So the teeming youth are unemployed. And if the youth are unemployed, we know the security implications of this. Are we not particular about all these happenings in our country than to say that the only thing that we care about is, okay, we are paying us huge sums of money, we are not buying fuel, we are not paying for electricity and so on and so forth. And in addition to that, our spouses also will have to be paid. What is Madam Samira or Rebecca needing that money for? What are they needing that money for? Do you understand? So we should ask them that, Madam, please, are you desperate in need of this money? And if they are not in desperate need of this money to care for anything, then why are we worrying ourselves as a country? Or even to sanction a committee who we should use as part of the terms of reference.
I'm finding it difficult to understand your argument. It is difficult for me to understand simply because is it the formalization of the allowances that you are against, or you are against the allowances given to the spouses of, you know, our presidents and vice presidents? Because as far as Kojo Nkrumah is concerned, this is something that is paid to these spouses for so many years now. It is just about formalization of it.
You see, if Kolio Nkrumah should say that somebody who is a lawyer to endorse illegality, you do understand? To endorse illegality, because look, if you read Article 71 and if you also read Article 72, it is very clear. It has been stated explicitly as to who and who is to enjoy those privileges, and the names and the offices of the former first lady or the current first lady or the second lady has not been posited there.
Right.
So if you are making the argument that it has been by convention, conventions are not statute or law. Do you understand? You are a law student.
Why were you not?
My friend is a law student. So that is why certain groups of people, including the NDC, the youth wing, are pursuing this issue in court.
Fantastic. It is not under any statute or any law in this country for the spouses to be paid any allowance or anything of that sort. But this has been happening. Why did we not have the youth wing or the National Democratic Congress kick against it?
Okay, it is Kolio Nkrumah who is making the allegation that it has been happening, isn't it?
It's not an allegation.
No, please. I mean, you cannot say that you've been there whereby monies have been issued as allowances to former president's wife. You cannot say. But do you understand? You tentatively will suggest, but you cannot see as a fact that this has been happening. Okay. Do you understand? Right. So that is what the minister is saying. He's alleging that this has been monies which have been paid over the years. So what the committee seeks to recommend is the formalization of it, isn't it? And here's the case that you cannot prove by either checks. So wait a minute. By either checks or
there are names he has mentioned. And I don't think that all those names have denied, knowledge of this whole thing. He says the truth of the matter is that all surviving spouses of heads of state, current and former, have always received salaries. Lordina Mahama
have always received salaries.
Wait a minute. Have always received salaries. So it tells you that it's a continuous thing. It's something they've been getting. And the names as mentioned are Lordina Mahama, Nadu Mills, Matilda Emisa Arthur, Nana Konedwa Jima Rawlins, Faustina Achampon, Fulera Liman, etc. have all been receiving salaries since President Kufuor's time. So the question is, all these persons who have been mentioned did not deny that they've not received any allowance or salaries of that nature as indicated by
including Lordina. No, wait. Justice, have you called any of them to interview?
But this is in the public domain. This is in the public domain. Why should I call anybody to
No, wait. You are telling me, all right? You are telling me that they have not denied.
Did they?
All right?
Did you hear them deny?
And I'm asking you that one way or the other for you to ascertain whether they will deny or whether it is true
but
or not.
Once it's in the public domain
and even with the statement that the minister issued, I have a problem with it because look, you are talking about allowances being a conventional practice, and here's the case that you are also reporting salaries being paid.
That is not a substance.
No, please wait. Salaries being paid, and the bone of contention here is the salary aspect of it, because salaries go hand in hand with responsibilities. And so if you are to pay, please wait. So if you are to pay me, please. So if you are to pay me at the end of every month, then it means that I actually have delivered some kind of job which you have assigned to me. So you being the employer paying me salary means that I have undertaken some work for you, which merits the payment of that salary. But if you are paying me salaries meant for no job done, then it means that you are endorsing criminality, of which we really need to probe into it. So what the minister is alluding to is that, hey, these people have been receiving salaries and so on and so forth. That is why I am happy people have gone to the Supreme Court in order to seek for interpretation as to what the convention has been, is even right or not. But as far as Article 71, Article 72 is concerned, these people are not entitled to any form of salaries, because they do not have any specific or well-defined role to play in government, right? To play in government. And look,
can you step down from?
And I have a problem And I have a problem.
Right.
But even if we have the money to spend, looking at this particular time, where even Felix is crying because there is no job, whilst Jerome is lamenting because there is no job, and even where people are working, I mean, they are receiving peanut salaries and so on and so forth. People are receiving very meager salaries and wages, and all of the government, which promise us of being sensitive and also protecting the public purse, this is what you are championing.
Okay.
And I think that, I mean, you have no business being there as Ghana, because you are not really championing the cause of the ordinary Ghanaian. Okay. Coming from Seshi, do you know the bad road I have to ply before I get to Accra? And these monies are needed to fix my road. And you are telling me it should be given to somebody who is not having any well-defined role in government.
All right, thank you so much. That is very I'll come back to you. Yes. You have just 2 minutes for your rebuttal. 2 minutes. Already we have about 8 minutes.
My brother just came from the moon. He was not here when former President Mahama was president. And these same payments were made. Look, allowances are not for free. We give allowances for a specific role or performances that you have conducted. So if you say that the salaries and allowances are for free and salary, you need to show some, my brother, it means that. And two, for you to say that, well, then giving the money to somebody is criminal, it means that the person receiving the money is also indulging in criminal activities, if you don't know. So it means that former President Mahama, the wife of former President Mahama, the wife of former President Rawlings, also indulged in criminal activities. That's what you want to say? Is that how you want to put this debate in, calling people names of criminality and so on and so forth without any basis? Is that how to have? And then also to say that Nadu Mills has stated that she does not want. It is never true. You need not come on national television like this, a big platform like this, and put words in the mouth of people who have not spoken. There have not been any news item about Nadu Mills that Justice, who is a renowned journalist, has not heard, that you have heard at Kasapa. So this untruth and hypocritical stance, you need to just run away from there. And then three, for you to say that if former presidents, the spouses of former presidents are taking it, it means that they have not been responsible. So you want to say that Mahama is not being responsible and has allowed his wife to also take some of these things. My brother, that is why I stated earlier on that let us take some political lenses out of some of these things, because these are conventions, and what the government seeks to do, and the government is it legal? No, justice. What the government seeks to do is not to bring anything new. Justice, give me some time. If you have been in any committee before, and the committee is in perpetual succession, what it means is that the report that is done in 2008, if you are doing another report, another committee is doing in 2009, you refer to the report in 2008. And I'm saying to you that Professor Ntiamwa's report is not a report that they did themselves. I mean, a report that all the recommendations are coming. Some of the recommendations are coming from the previous report under President Mahama. And it was stated in President Mahama's committee of emolument that spouses are to be catered for. So if today President Mahama had the opportunity of giving spouses of former presidents some token for them to cater for themselves, and today we are also continuing with the status quo, but then also trying to formalize the situation so that we can account and properly account for it, and you are saying that it's criminality, and now
pay them like cabinet ministers.
And then what it means, Justice, do you know how much they were taking as allowances?
How much were they taking? That
they were even taking more than. They were even taking more than, because nobody knows. They were giving allowances.
They were just about to say that they were taking more than. They were taking more than what?
Justice, all I'm saying is that
now, kindly step down for me.
If you are not able to formalize, you don't get the correct figure. It is better for you to formalize situations to get a correct figure and work against it than giving monies out without any formalization. That is why I think that the committee has done its work. The committee did not implement the work. The committee, through the president, sent a thing to Parliament. Parliament is a composition of MPP, NDC. They approved of the committee's report.
Well, and now what the minority side in Parliament says they never approved.
That is double standard. That is double standard. And now what I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying this double standard is that nobody you know the minority. Nobody came out speaking about some of these things.
They said Honorable Muntaka kicked against it. Some of them objected it in Parliament. I heard Honorable Dafian today. He also spoke against and talked about the fact that he kicked against it. Honorable Minister Fuseni said, in fact, he was part of the constitutional something committee. But you know what got to them, yes, and all of that. So
you know
they
that
have the speaking.
We are in this country where committee reports and deliberations are exposed. They come to the public domain. Why is it that some of these things did not come to the public domain until this issue came up? So that hypocritical double standard move of the minority should be stopped. But then just to wrap up, for me, my good brother should, be measured in some of these words. The use of irresponsibility on the side of president, the use of criminality and those things on this very important intellectual debate should not be done at all.
Right.
And I think it's something that
thank you so much. Can you take us home? You have just about 2 minutes, 3 minutes fast.
He's saying that the previous parliament, really gave approval to this committee report. Let's even assume that they gave approval, even though I am mindful of the fact that the minority side has clearly debunked the allegation that they gave their consent or approval to this. But look, we are in this country. The contract of DPGC, DPGC, which has amounted to Ghana paying $117 million as judgment debt, received parliamentary approval and was cancelled or terminated by President Akufo-Addo, isn't it? Again, this is not the first time that we've had President Akufo-Addo terminating or halting certain bills or what have you, which have been approved by Parliament. So what are you making a big deal about this? So if really, the fact of the matter is, if really President Akufo-Addo really have the interest of this state at heart, President wouldn't go that tangent. And again, are you telling me that President Mahama is so desperate to having her wife being paid? No, President Mahama is not desperate. Please wait. President Mahama is not desperate. If President Mills wants to be alive, will President Mills say that, desperately I want my wife to be paid? All these spouses of our late or former president are very responsible. And even before they assume the position of being first lady, they worked harder to complement effort of their husband. And it is not about this formalization of salaries that really would improve their lives. That is why they are saying that if you should call all of them here today, what they will tell you that as mothers, as women, they feel the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian and would advocate that this money should be turned into developing our country. For instance, the roads of Seshi, for instance, the cocoa farmer, for instance, the jobless youth who really have gone through tertiary education and so on and so forth, and they are not even finding job. They are not having any hope of bettering their lives. This is what, as a listener and also as president who is very much kind of concerned about the people, this is what we should be concerned about. But not the fact that by hook or crook, my wife should be paid. Your wife should be paid for doing what? Your wife should be paid for doing what? And you are telling me that is it only Madame Rebecca who has helped in building up any edifice in this country? Do you understand? Even Mrs. Lodina Mahama, whilst not being a first lady, still goes about helping people out of her pocket. Has he come to government? The richest. Has he come to government to solicit for fund? Has he spoken to President that I need money? We should know that this is an insensitive government, which everything that it has done or whatever that the president has been doing does not inure to the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian. You understand? I am even surprised. That you are telling me that per convention, you are using convention as a statute of law. This is what I don't understand as a law student. As a law student, step down for me. As a law student, you are telling me that because you think that this is a convention, that is why I will stick the seat. That is why. All right. No problem about that. So there is no need. No problem. So it's my government. So if you are telling me, let's assume, if you are telling me that my government, if you are telling me that my government is a criminal government, no problem about that. No. Just listen to this government. Okay, the NDC government was criminal in paying.
You are saying
no problem.
So that
no problem.
Felix, respect the platform and allow him to step down.
Be gentle. If the NDC government was criminal in paying the spouses of former presidents as allowance, and you come and telling me that you want to endorse that criminality of which you should know better. So between you and the government, which supposedly did not know, that was engaging in that act between you and that government. So you thinking that perhaps you are still with lawyers and so on, but you really cannot. You are just engaging in useless activities and so on and so forth. You are just engaging in useless activities.
Thank you so much. Step down from me.
So please, what we are saying is this is not what we need now as a country. What we need now as a country is that the money that we are spending in paying this money, I mean, should we turn into developing our country? That is what we are concerned about, but not what my friend is saying here.
So give me 3 minutes to read a lot of messages here. This one is from Julius Agahowa and Tahiru in Asawasi. He says, Justice, this is purely fallacy and unconstitutional. Are these women stroke wives of president and vice president official under Article 71 office holders? The argument that they advise their spouses is a fallacy. Whose spouse doesn't advise them and give them moral support and peace of mind to work in contributing to the socio-economic development of our beloved country? We need to stand up against these, else tomorrow we shall wake up and see president who wants his siblings to be paid for no officially holding any office under Article 71 of our Constitution. Fix the country. That's from Julius Agahowa and Tahiru in Asawasi and Kumasi. A lot of messages here actually. Lots of messages. But I have to read some few of them and then go. This one says, so what would they use the salaries to do, since the state provide for the president even if they are not in government? Well, that it is only them who will tell. Blessed evening, Jay, and to your panelists. I'm watching you from Cyprus. Thank you so much for watching us far away in Cyprus. If wives of president and VP deserve salaries, then Ghanaian women who are legally married should be given allowances per month to reduce pressure on their husbands. I think this will make marriage attractive for the common Ghanaian to enjoy some. Thanks from Fafa in Cyprus. Fafa, thank you so much for watching us in Cyprus. Please correct the MPP guy. It was not John Mahama who initiated allowance given to the first ladies. It was Kufuor. Justice, correct him, please. Well, he never said that. He said,
it's been there.
Wow, yours is too long. I can't read. If it's too long, I can't read. This one says, I am watching your program. Where are leaders driving Ghana to? Paying first and second ladies is not in our constitution. Check Article 72. It's 71. Does not state it. It's 71 from Kingsford. Kingsford, thank you so much for your message. Ghanaian leaders are not more coming to the presidency to help the people, but to enrich themselves. Public workers' salaries are not or were not increased. Your English kindly send it back. Hi, good evening. I'm Stephen, watching you from Nkoko. Just to spare your working conditions in that station. Is your wife and children not benefiting from your company? When they are sick, do they not pay hospital bills? It was captured in your health policy, in your working condition. This justice is allowance and not salary. Is your wife and children working with you in that company? So you want the president's wife to be paid? You people, you kill us. So please, Justice, I'm Abdul from Tamale. Tell Felix that I like his submission and I want his number. Today is